What's up, everybody? It's Bubba here, bringing you another video for Raid Shadow Legends. And today we're going to go ahead and go into the shard pools for the events going on. So let's see what we can get today. Like, I know y'all seen that when I was pulling them. Like, it was literally started to show yellow and then turned to a void. Okay, I've never seen these two, so let's see what these guys are about. We got Blair the Lost. or Balar. Attack one enemy before attacking places a shield buff on this champion for 2 turns. The value of the shield is proportional to this champion's attack. So you want a shield, or you want to have a lot of attack, I guess, for a shield. Has a 50% chance of placing a 25% poison sensitivity. That's his A1. Has a 75% chance of placing a leech buff on all enemies for 2 turns. Instantly activates all poison buffs on all enemies. Okay, so you can activate the poisons. You build you a poison team. Attack one enemy before attacking places a 50% increase attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. Has a 75% chance of placing a 50% decreased resistant buff on all enemies for 2 turns. Places a 5% poison debuff on the initial target for 2 turns. If this attack is critical, places 3 5% poison debuffs for 2 turns on all enemies instead. So you want to make sure that he has 100% crit rate, and then increase this champion's ignore defense effect by 1% for each poison debuff instantly activated by this champion. Stacks up to 20%. And the other guy is Boragr the Elder. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 60% increased defense for 1 turn. An ally with the lowest HP will be placed on this champion. Has a 100% chance instead if this attack is critical. Okay. Removes 1 random beat debuff from all allies. Then places a shield buff on all allies for 2 turns equal to 20% of this champion's max HP. Places a 50% increased resistant buff and a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. And then allies receive 10% less damage from champions whose resistance is lower than or equal to theirs. Nice. Okay, we got Tila Gourmet. Attack one enemy, still one random buff from the target. Also has a 50% chance of stealing another random buff if the target is under 2 or more buffs. Attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance of placing an HP burn buff for 2 turns. Ascended attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance HP burn for 2 buffs, but also places a 15% continuous heal buff on all allies for 2 turns. Damage based on HP. Attacks all enemies has an 85% chance of increasing the duration of all HP debuffs on all enemies for 1 turn. Also has a 70 or 85% chance of placing a leech buff and a hex buff for 2 turns. And has an aura, ally resistance in all battles by 50%. Nice. And we got old Bambus. Bambus has a decreased speed. Will attack all enemies instead of the initial targets under 2 or more buffs. This attack has a 75% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed buff for 2 turns. Then places sleep debuff on this champion for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be blocked or resisted. Attacks all enemies before attacking, places a shield buff on allies equal 30% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. Also increases the duration of all buffs on this ally by 30%. Or, I don't know why I said 30%. On all allies by 1 turn. After attacking, has a 75% chance of decreasing the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn. Even if the attack lands as a weak hit, also increases the value of any shield buffs on all allies by 3% for each buff or enemy buff that has this duration decreased by this skill. First place is a 50% increased accuracy buff and a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns. Then has a 75% chance of placing a enfeeble buff and a 50% decreased accuracy buff on all enemies for two turns. The enfeeble buff cannot be placed on bosses, has a 75% chance of placing a 50% decreased attack debuff on bosses for 2 turns instead. Finally, places a sleep debuff on this champion for 1 turn. This debuff cannot be blocked or resisted. Increases ally HP in all battles by 25%. Alright, that does it for, this go round. I feel like I got, a few good pulls on a few of my accounts. So if you guys like the video, um, leave a comment, like, subscribe, and maybe I can help you start off in the best way possible. All right, take it easy, guys. Bye.